It is go time, friend, right? You were made to thrive at this time of the year, but maybe you don't feel like this. You're saying to yourself, oh my goodness, there's only 1 week until Christmas, and all of the plans that I had figured out, they didn't happen. Just everything came up during this month as well that I wasn't expecting. Other things took longer than you thought that they would take, and today, we're going to talk about hitting that reset button, just like that Staples commercial where you push the easy button. But this is going to be the reset button for homeschool moms on the last week of Christmas. I don't want you to feel like a failure because guess what? You are not a failure. So let's hit that reset button so you can go into this final week before Christmas, checking off that to-do list, getting those things done that need to be gotten done with, and feeling really good as you approach Christmas morning and you wake up just feeling so good about the season, how you walk through it and how you treated your husband during this time and how you treated your children and saying, I am not a failure. It's been a really good Advent season and a time of focusing on Christ and going to be good. So let's hit that reset button. Are you ready? Let's do it right now.
Welcome to the Little by Little Homeschool podcast, where you can get out of survival mode, feel confident in your homeschool decisions, and gain peace in your heart and home. I know that when we plant our feet firmly in this season of life and embrace our homeschooling, motherhood, and homemaking, we will thrive. I truly believe that we can do this from a place of peace and joy, all while growing a ton of contentment. And while we're at it, Mama, let's deepen those relationships with our children and love these years we get to pour into them. If you're ready to create beauty, seek simplicity, and live intentionally, homeschool mama, then close out that lesson book, let the kids go play, and let's have an authentic conversation.
Tell me if this sounds a little familiar. You had great and grand plans of Christmas homeschooling. You even purchased some really amazing homeschooling curriculum for the Christmas season. You had baking plans and you had volunteering opportunities you were going to do. You even were going to maybe throw a Christmas party at your house. You had new fancy decoration ideas and you had maybe caroling on your list of things you'd like to do and so on and so on. And now the reality of only having 7 days left has hit you. And you're saying, I didn't accomplish all those things. I had these grand and grandiose plans. I didn't accomplish them. I'm feeling like I should just give up at this point. I have failed this Christmas season. Let me be the first to tell you here that for the past 2 weeks, I personally have been really busy. There have been a lot of gatherings and a lot more than usual, as we know, during the Christmas holidays, but there's just been normal things. Guess what? There's still baby showers to go to. There's still birthdays to celebrate. And I have a lot more coming up, just like you have this coming week. And the past 2 weeks, I was feeling overwhelmed at times, and I had to refocus myself. And I'll be honest and tell you that there were some days that this meant that the messy bun of my hair on top of my head stayed like that all day from the night before when I pulled it up before I went to bed. And today is the system I'm going to share with you that I use and that I just used these past 2 weeks in order to tell myself, you're not a failure. You are doing really well and your family is thriving. They're enjoying this Christmas holiday season. You are majoring on the majors and minoring on the minors. You're not a failure just because you didn't get these big grand plans done. And I was able to hit the reset button, and I want you to be able to do that today, right now, through this episode. Are you ready to have a little heart-to-heart with yourself? That's what I'm hoping is going to happen after this episode, or maybe even during. Feel free to pause it. Feel free to write these down. Feel free to pause and just brain dump from the step that I have given you. So I have 4 simple steps that are going to help you step out of feeling like a failure and step into resetting for this last week before Christmas. The first one is to stop and evaluate. If you do not have everything written down that you need to do, I want to encourage you to just write it all down. I know some people are not a huge fan of to-do lists, but I think that part of the problem is because you have too much in your brain and it's not out and clear. I find for myself, I will just sit down and just brain dump. So that is what I did during these 2 weeks where I just was feeling overwhelmed. just wrote it all out. What are all my expectations? What are the expectations of other people? What are the dreams and ideas and these grandiose plans that I have? And what is the reality of what we actually do need to do? Where do we need to be? What are things we have committed to? What are things maybe we'd want to do? Just write it all down if you have not already done it. It doesn't have to be pretty looking. Just get a piece of paper. Go to your kids' homeschool nook, their area, their room, whatever it is. Grab a piece of paper and just brain dump. After you've written down everything, maybe it's the baking of the cookies. Maybe it's dropping off those cookies at the nursing home. Maybe it is visiting grandma or visiting distant relatives that you haven't seen in a while. There's just lots of things. There's probably things for church. I know that our church ran a couple of different campaigns where you could bring in gifts for certain people. And so there was just that kind of stuff. Like, write that down. Everything that you still need to accomplish this last week. Then you're going to step back, and you might need to take a break. You might need to write all these things down and say, you know what? I need to step away from this. Maybe you step away from it for 5 minutes, 5 hours. Maybe it is until tomorrow morning, but that's the last, okay? That's it. You have maybe 24 hours. That's it, because then you only have 6 days left, okay? So then take a look at that list and figure out what is mandatory and necessary. You can put a little star next to those. You can maybe even number those as in order of importance. Maybe just get a highlighter, or you'll get a marker and you circle those. Whatever is mandatory and necessary. Maybe you need to be at grandma's on Christmas Day at 10 a.m. Well, that's mandatory, necessary. That's something you want to do as well. Go ahead and circle that. That's important. Then take a look at the list and cross off the extra things at this point. There is only 1 week. What are the extra things that aren't going to happen? Let me give you an example. You have on your list that you need to finish Christmas shopping for your, say, 7-year-old. But you also wanted to give Christmas gifts to your neighbors. Maybe that's 3 people. Maybe that's 5 people. Maybe that's 30 people. And you say to yourself, I don't have time or the space or the brain right now at this point to be able to do both of those things. Well, I'm going to encourage you to choose the gift for your kids versus getting the gifts out to your neighbors. Yeah, maybe some of your neighbors might be disappointed. Maybe the little gift that you make them is something that you can do after Christmas. Guess what? There is a week between Christmas and New Year's. And if you find that that's a little bit of a downtime, that's fine to do something like that. Let me give you another example that'll follow along with this, something that I had to give up years ago, and that was Christmas cards. I just couldn't get it together to get a Christmas card out. Now, right now in this season of life, I'm like, I don't have a really recent picture of all of us. With my daughter not living at home, it was a while ago that we had a picture taken. When my kids were little, we could easily get a picture taken at any time. I actually waited until like Christmas Eve, Christmas, and we were all dressed nice and everything. I would get a picture of us. And then a couple days after Christmas, I would have cards made with that picture on it, and they were not Christmas cards. They were Happy New Year cards, because it was still important to me to be able to send these out. Now, let's just say years later, I don't send out really any cards. I feel like with social media, people kind of know what's going on and what we're doing. And I know I feel bad because I'm giving up the nostalgia of that, of sending out cards, but it really is. It's just something that I had to give up in order to do the better things, the things that were more important to me. So stop and evaluate, just brain dump, write it all down that you need to do, and then make sure you mark on there what is the mandatory, necessary, what really does need to happen, and then also what really do you really want to happen, but be realistic, okay? And then cross off the things that are extras at this point, and you're going to maybe have to weigh them. This one or this one, option A or option B. If you're having a hard time, maybe you can pull your kids in and ask them some of these things, or definitely ask your husband and have him help you. Let him know that you are struggling and there's a lot that needs to be accomplished. Maybe instead of grocery shopping, you place a grocery order online and you just say, I don't have the time to get it. And you ask your husband, when is a good time that you can pick it up? And you allow him to go pick it up. He comes home and maybe he and the kids get it put away. Just that amount of time, so much can be saved, okay? Number 2 tip I have here for you to get out of failure and hit that reset button is to ditch anything. This kind of falls into a little bit of what I said here. Number 1 is to ditch anything that is not moving your family forward this week. Like I mentioned in episode 211, you might need to start using the word no. No, I'm sorry, we're not able to come. No, thank you, we aren't able to participate. Maybe, unfortunately, it might be something that you said yes to, and now you're looking at it and you're saying, no, we can't. Maybe you have a couple of kiddos who just aren't quite feeling well, and you promised someone that you would attend a concert and you just can't do it. Let them know. Don't leave them hanging, holding seats, waiting for you. Let them know, I'm really sorry. We're feeling a little under the weather and we're not able to come. Sometimes we don't even need to, like I've mentioned before, we don't need to necessarily give an excuse. In some areas, if it's really like this is tonight, then maybe you need to let them know a reason why. Or maybe there's just things you need to move around so that you can make it to the thing tonight, so that then you kind of push some other things off and decide some other things aren't going to happen. But strip down to the necessities at this point in this last week. What is necessary for Christmas? Maybe that is to get the gifts all done, all the shopping done. Maybe it is to get the cooking and the baking done. Maybe it is to get some of the gifts to the neighbors, but it's not a necessity to you to have your house cleaned up. It's going to be a little bit of a mess, maybe keeping it tidy and everything, knowing that you can do a big reset then after the Christmas day and sometime then around the New Year's. But ditch anything that is not moving your family forward. Ask yourself, is this helping my family move forward this Christmas season, or is this hindering us? And then maybe that even includes things, oh, I hate to say it, but maybe it's something even like Advent. Maybe that has to go. Maybe it's just one more thing to accomplish. Maybe you've been trying to do it every single evening and kids are just having meltdowns. And you're like, you know what? I would rather everybody go to bed early. Maybe it just means moving Advent to the morning or a different time of the day. But if there are Christmas traditions, if there's things like Advent, if there are things that are helping you with the Christmas season, maybe it's something with the Christmas homeschooling and you're just saying, it's not helping my family move forward right now. It's too much planning. It's too much time. And you get to decide what too much time is. It's okay to put it aside. Christmas will still come. Jesus was still born, and you can still make those memories, and you can still focus on Christ during this season. The third thing I want to mention here on hitting that reset button is to make sure that you add in margin. And what I mean by that is planning for things to take longer than expected. Don't run your schedule so tight where there is absolutely no margin, because this is not our first rodeo when it comes to Christmas, and you are very familiar with your children and possibly the less sleep that they get and the less maybe on-time meals that happen. And there's just a lot going on, a lot of overstimulation. And when you run things super tight, you're going to start running into meltdowns. You're going to run into temper tantrums. You're going to run into attitudes. And this all could be from them, and it also could be from you as well. But add in margin. Plan for something to take longer than it's going to take. Because sometimes even things like traffic, you weren't really expecting. You're like, okay, I can run to this store and get this, and I can be home in 20 minutes. Well, there are more people out. I am absolutely convinced of this, that most people don't go grocery shopping except at Christmas during the month of December. Am I right? Can I get somebody out there to say, yes, I agree with that? I'm at the grocery store, the same grocery stores every single week. And I'm like, I've not seen this many people. Everybody comes out in December. It's kind of like the gym. People join the gym in January and then they disappear. So I don't know if people don't eat during the rest of the year. I don't know. That's my theory. I don't think it's a very good theory, but it's what I'm going with. But add in margin, knowing that things are going to take longer than expected, and don't run a super tight schedule. If you have to pick up a child at, say, 6:15 and you promise to be somewhere at 6:30, and it does take 15 minutes to get there, what if the kiddo is running a little bit late? Maybe it's a music lesson, whatever, I don't know, whatever you have going on. What if it's a little bit late? That's going to push you back. The stress levels start going up when we start running late for things, when we run such a tight schedule. Stress level goes up, then our patience goes down, and that is not a good combination. The final tip I want to give you here to hit that reset button is to add in. Now that you've added in a little bit of margin, I want you to add in, we won't say more margin, but I want you to make sure that you add in some quiet time for yourself. There is really not much sweeter during the Christmas season than maybe your kids are quietly playing, or they're in bed and it's dark out and the lights are off and just the Christmas lights are on. You sit there with a cup of tea or hot cocoa and you just breathe. Enjoy the twinkling lights and just enjoy the quietness of it. So I want you to add in some quiet time for yourself. You will not regret that, Maybe it's 5 minutes, maybe it's 10 minutes, 15, maybe it's even 30 minutes that you just sit there. Maybe you turn on a little bit of a light and you get a book out and you sit and read, but just adding some quiet time for yourself. Also, add in some sweet time of refreshing for your own family. Maybe that means that you add in a game night this week instead of running out and visiting and seeing the live nativity. Maybe it's more refreshing for your family to stay home and to play some games together. Maybe it's more refreshing for your family to say no to a couple of other things. Maybe it's more refreshing for your kiddos to have a pajama day and watch some Christmas movies. And you are able maybe to get some of that baking done and get some of those gifts ready for neighbors and to get some other presents wrapped or order some things online. But add in some time that you can refresh yourself, but also that your family can refresh themselves together, and also that your kids, just even individually, especially if you have some introverted children, makes you bake in some time there for them to be able to refresh as well. I feel like these ideas are all ones that you probably knew that I was going to say, and maybe you just needed somebody else to say it to you. I am looking forward to hearing about how your week has gone from you feeling like a failure to feeling like you can reset now. I give you full permission. Just remember that long list that you wrote out of all the things that you need to accomplish in the first tip that I gave you. Just know that if you were to check off and accomplish all of those, or if you were to accomplish half of them, a quarter of them, or only a couple of them, no one is going to think more highly of you because you got all of them done, or no one's going to think less of you because you got less of them done. It really is all in our own minds and how we look at it. So I want to encourage you to cross off some of those things, just X them out, and then maybe write out a new list of the things that you do want to accomplish, the things that you know are doable and necessary and are going to move your family forward. And at the end of this week, you'll look and you say, you know what? We did accomplish those things. And some of those things on the list could be every single night, Mom takes 15 minutes and just sits down under the glow of the Christmas tree. Maybe it is we do family night 3 or 4 nights this week. How amazing would that be to be able to cross that off at the end of the week, checking it off, saying, yes, we did do that. Friend, you are not a failure. Enjoy this time. Enjoy the memories with your family. If you need to keep a messy bun on top of your head all day, and even if you are home all day, or if you go out, because listen, I went out with a messy bun sometimes too. And I was like, this is what you get. This is what you all get. All you people that are here at the grocery store that are never here the rest of the year. This is what you get. But friend, I want to encourage you just to lean in, enjoy this Christmas season, continue to focus on the reason for the season, the birth of Jesus Christ, and be a blessing to your family, and watch in turn that these couple of tips will cause you to be blessed as well.
If this podcast has encouraged you, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. I love to hear how this show has impacted you. So if you could hop over and do that, I'd be so grateful. While you're at it, take a screenshot of this episode and share it with your friends to encourage them. You can also find me over on Instagram at Little by Little Homeschool. Until next time, have a beautiful day, Mama.